Chapter 8. The Mentor's Door. Dave had replayed the dream too many times. The Igwe's words, the scars that lingered after waking, the whisper that clung like smoke, it all blurred the line between sleeping and waking. He needed an anchor, something or someone to tell him he wasn't losing his grip. The university's south wing carried an air of old-world seriousness. Tall glass windows framed steel beams, and the corridors were lined with holographic displays cycling through academic achievements. Students rushed past, heads bent into their projects, their augmented glasses flickering with code or simulations. But Dave wasn't here for another lecture. He was here for Professor Anuli. Her reputation traveled faster than her footsteps, a woman who straddled two worlds, ancient African philosophies and the bleeding edge of computational sciences. Some called her eccentric, others brilliant. Dave only knew one thing. If anyone could help him make sense of dreams that bled into reality, it was her. He stood outside her office door longer than he should have. The plaque shimmered in digital ink. Profli Anuli Okafor, Cognitive Systems and Metaphysical Computation. He knocked.
Enter.
The office was unlike any he'd ever seen. One half was sleek and futuristic, screens filled with streams of code, models of neural nets, and suspended hollows of DNA strands weaving themselves in fractal loops. The other half looked like a shrine, carved masks on the walls, stacks of old books with worn leather spines, and a faint aroma of sandalwood drifting from a clay burner. Behind a broad desk sat Professor Anuli, her posture commanding but not severe. Her eyes locked on him in a way that made Dave feel both examined and seen.
You are David Chike.
Yes, Professor.
You carry the look of someone who hasn't slept in weeks, but your mind isn't restless from study. It's something deeper.
Dave froze. How could she possibly know? Before he could form words, movement in the corner caught his attention. A young woman sat cross-legged on the floor, her tablet balanced on her knees. She was sketching code across a projected DNA helix, each line adjusting the shape of its spirals. She looked up and Dave's breath caught. Her eyes were sharp, curious, like she'd already taken him apart in thought and was deciding if he could be put back together.
This is Ijeoma.
She's pursuing her master's thesis in DNA programming, attempting to rewrite biological code as if it was software.
Bold work. She assists me.
But her gaze lingered on Dave as though he wasn't just another student barging into Anuli's office.
Sit.
Motioning to the chair opposite her desk.
Tell me what haunts you.
The words spilt out of Dave before he could stop himself.
The dreams, the Igwe, the scars, and the voice that follows me into daylight.
He expected disbelief, maybe a reprimand. Instead, Anuli leaned back, hands folded, absorbing every word as though he were reciting equations. When he finished, the silence that followed was heavy.
You see now why I called you. This is not a mere dream, nor is it madness. You are standing at a boundary few recognize, where consciousness brushes against the architecture of worlds.
So I'm not broken?
No, David. You are opening, but openings are fragile and dangerous.
If his dreams leave marks, then they're not just dreams. They're codes leaking through a system.
She tapped her screen, and the DNA helix shifted, its spirals glitching like corrupted data.
Like when a program writes back into the machine running it. A self-modifying loop? Precisely. It rewrites its own execution.
Dave stared at her. She spoke casually, but her words struck something deep. Anuli's voice sharpened.
You came here for clarity. I will give you tools, but the path you walk is your own. Dreams and waking life, one will shape the other. Learn to balance them, or one will consume you.
Her words rooted into Dave's chest. For the first time in weeks, he didn't feel like he was drowning. He felt guided. Ijeoma stood, brushing digital dust from her palms.
He needs grounding. Maybe we can run simulations to test if his subconscious patterns can be mapped.
Yes, but slowly. The boy is already carrying fire, too much structure, and he will break.
Dave sat in silence, absorbing the weight of their words. He had come looking for answers. Instead, he found a mentor who spoke of dangers he couldn't yet see, and a girl whose eyes told him she wasn't afraid to watch him walk into them. When he left Anuli's office later, the world outside looked unchanged. Students rushing, code running, the hum of the campus alive. But Dave felt different. For the first time since the whispers began, he wasn't alone. Pause here, listener. Ask yourself, who in your life can anchor you when everything feels unsteady? Comment, "I have my anchor," if you know it. And if your heart is racing at this revelation, hit like. It keeps you part of the journey. Chapter 9. The first test. The following night, Dave couldn't sleep. The city outside his window pulsed with its usual rhythms, hover trams humming through glassy tunnels, drones sweeping the skies in perfect arcs, neon signs blinking like watchful eyes. Dave felt the pressure of another rhythm entirely, a deeper thrum, ancient and unrelenting, pressing against his chest like a second heartbeat. Every time he closed his eyes, he felt the pull, the whisper in the dark, the memory of fire and shadow. And always the same voice. Child of two worlds, you cannot hide from what you are. By dawn, his decision was made. If he didn't test the boundaries of this strange gift, it would consume him. Shen was right. Pretending it was just dreams wasn't going to save him. He had to know. When Dave messaged him, Shen didn't hesitate. He was already waiting at the old metro hub, a decommissioned underground station long abandoned. When the mag rails replaced the old lines, students sometimes used it as a meeting place. Its tunnels wide enough for privacy, but not deep enough to trigger security patrols. The place felt alive in its decay. Rust streaked the walls like veins, graffiti bled neon under faint black lights, and broken projectors occasionally sparked, throwing up ghostly fragments of forgotten advertisements. The air smelled of ozone and damp steel. The kind of place where the city's ghosts might gather, perfect for secrets.
All right. Show me what kept you tossing all night, okay?
Dave swallowed, his throat dry. His chest buzzed with both fear and anticipation. What if nothing happened? What if he embarrassed himself in front of the only person who believed him? Worse, what if something did happen and it spiraled out of control? His gaze dropped to Orla. The bracelet sat warm against his wrist, the faint glow pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. He could almost hear it urging him. Try. Trust. He took a deep breath. Okay. A half-broken terminal sat at the far wall, its glass cracked, its keys fused together by time and disuse. Dave reached out, fingertips trembling as they brushed the cold surface. Normally, a terminal like this was junk, fit only for scrap, maybe spare parts. It shouldn't respond to touch. But as Dave focused, his vision blurred. The edges of reality loosened, and in the flicker of his mind's eye, he saw them. Runes, the same luminous glyphs from his dreams. They cascaded down the machine like a veil, rewriting its broken shell in lines of living light. The console shuddered. Then, impossibly, the screen came alive. Shen's gasp echoed in the hollow station.
That's impossible.
His senses flooded. The runes shifted, no longer symbols but pathways, streams of meaning threading through circuits and code alike. He wasn't coding, he was communing. His hand hovered over the screen, and the terminal obeyed as if he were whispering to its soul. Circuits that had been dead for years sparked awake. The console hummed, its fractured speakers croaking out static that almost sounded like words. The dream was here, in the waking world. Dave's chest tightened. His hand moved of its own accord, tracing invisible lines in the air. The runes bent, fusing with the machine's architecture. Every keystroke, every stored function, every buried line of forgotten code unfurled before him. It was all alive, all waiting. Shen's awe gave way to alarm.
Dave, that's enough!
But Dave couldn't stop. The power surged through him, intoxicating and terrifying. Orla burned against his skin, no longer a bracelet, but a conduit. He wasn't controlling the machine. He was merging with it, drawing it into the same shadow thread that bound his dreams. The air around them trembled. Overhead lights flickered, pulsing in time with his heartbeat. The ground buzzed with latent energy, and somewhere in the tunnels, an old engine roared back to life for the first time in decades.
Dave! You'll bring the whole grid down!
The runes blurred into white fire. Dave gasped, tearing his hand away. The light collapsed inward, the screen sparking violently before exploding into smoke and silence. The terminal was fried beyond repair. Dave staggered backwards, falling to his knees. His breath came ragged, chest heaving, as sweat dripped down his temples. His vision swam, the echo of the runes still etched into his mind. Shen crouched beside him, gripping his arm.
Are you all right? Say something! Dreams is fine. It's real, it's not just dreams. I can bridge them.
For a moment, the only sound was the faint crackle of fried circuits. Shen's expression was unreadable, caught between awe and dread.
Then we've just crossed the line, my friend. And once you cross it, there's no going back.
Dave raised his head. In the corner of his vision, he thought he saw a flicker, a shadow moving along the wall, watching. But when he blinked, it was gone. Above them, the city rumbled on, oblivious. Yet Dave knew better. The walls between worlds weren't walls at all. They were doors. And tonight, he had found the key.